Continuing the AFC East preview, we come to possibly the most interesting team in the division. That's the Buffalo Bills. Head coach Doug Marrone makes the move from Syracuse to Buffalo to coach an interesting Bills team that could sneak into the back end of the playoffs as a wild card. Unfortunately for them, they were dealt a blow after the second preseason game when the man who looked like he was going to win the starting job at quarterback, E.J. Manuel, their first-round pick, required knee surgery to reduce swelling. Now, beat reporters said that he didn't appear to be walking with a limp, and he did everything as normal following the game, so it's very interesting to see if he's ready for Week 1. If not, the Bills could be in trouble as they turn to Kevin Kolb to start. If Kevin Kolb has to start a few games that year, it could be devastating for the Bills. They could go from being a fringe playoff contender to a team looking at another top 10 draft pick and continuing that league worst playoff drought. They haven't made the playoffs since the turn of this millennium. Now, on offense, the Bills are led by C.J. Spiller, who will likely go over 2,000 all-purpose yards this year and could even challenge for 2,000 yards. He has explosive speed and tackle-breaking abilities that can do it. It's a long stretch, but he could have an Adrian Peterson-like season where he leads the Bills to the playoffs. Behind him is a former Pro Bowl back in Fred Jackson, who, yes, he's in his early 30s, but still has a little bit left in those legs. Now, we move to wide receiver, where they have one of the more consistent wide receivers in the league. Not a guy who is going to fool anybody for being an all-world player, but Stevie Johnson is a guy who is going to get you nearly 70 catches a year and go over 1,000 yards. But the real question is, who emerges opposite of Stevie Johnson? Who's the number 2 receiver? Is it last year's third-round pick, T.J. Graham? It seems unlikely. Is it this year's second-round pick, Robert Woods? Or is it another draft pick from this year, Marquise Goodwin? I'd lean towards Goodwin. He's shown explosive speed but that's, I guess, what you can expect from a guy who went to the Olympics this summer, or last year. We moved to tight end, where a few years ago the Bills found Scott Chandler, and out of nowhere he became a player who was out of the NFL to a player who's starting on the Bills. He's a decent tight end, but he's not going to fool anybody for being a starter on a very good team. The Bills can get by, but that's a position they should look to improve in the offseason. We move to the offensive line, where it's very average. You don't have a standout guy. Sure, Eric Wood has been a Pro Bowler before, but that's about it. Corey Glenn could be a Pro Bowler, but he's got to stay healthy. An ankle injury limited him last year. And then at right tackle, they have Eric Pierce, who really should be a swing tackle, a guy who comes off the bench in case of injury, not a guy you count on starting and playing 1,000 snaps a year. You want him to play 100 snaps at most. And then you got an interesting case at guard, Doug Legursky. He started the Super Bowl for the Steelers a few years ago when Marquise Pouncey was hurt, but he never really got the chance to start. He could win a starting job at left guard for the Bills. Across from him is Urbrick, who's been good, but in limited snaps. He's dealt with a couple injuries. Well, we're going to move to the defense, where they desperately need to sign Jarius Byrd. He's the NFL's best free safety, takes away the ball, he makes tons of plays in the passing game. And they should have been paying him already, not letting this holdout last this long. Moving to strong safety is Aaron Williams, who spent the past few years at corner. He had played some safety at University of Texas. Be interesting to see what the former second rounder can do. At the corner positions, Leotis McKelvin moves into the starter's role. The former first round pick has been up and down as a corner, had his moments, usually not so many good ones. But across from him is Stephon Gilmore, who improved as the season went on, was much better in the run game than he was in the pass game, as he was often susceptible to giving up big plays or taking some pass interference penalties. We move to linebacker, where the middle linebacker is second-round pick Kiko Alonso out of Oregon. The thumper should be good in the run game, but should lack consistency in the pass game. It's yet to be seen if he can cover the athletic tight ends. Lucky for him, that first week it doesn't appear that Rob Gronkowski will be playing. We look at the outside linebackers where it's Manny Lawson, the former first-round pick, is finding his way around the league, but never reached the potential that he had his early days in San Francisco. And Nigel Bradham, who has a few league problems going on. We'll see what the outcome of that is. Now we go to the strongest point of the Bills' defense, which is the defensive line. Starting in the middle, they have Pro Bowler Kyle Williams and former number 3 pick Marcel Darius. Now, what makes this line so good is that it's big, it's strong, and it's highly athletic. You look outside, they have 2 ends that are athletic, strong, and fast. They get to the passer. Alex Kerrigan has been improving ever since he took over for Mark Anderson in the second half of last season. And then you have the $100 million man in Mario Williams. He's a guaranteed 10 sacks a year minimum. He is that explosive. They also made a trade for Jerry Hughes, who never found his place in Indianapolis, but has had an outstanding preseason, wrapping up a couple sacks the past couple games. Interesting third tackle they have is Alan Branch. He took a large fall at the draft in 2007, eventually landed with Arizona, was an all-right piece there. Then he went up to Seattle and sort of found a home where he was comfortable. It'll be interesting to see if he can repeat any of that success as a situational guy coming off the bench, giving a refresher for the Williams and Darius. We move to special teams where longtime kicker Ryan Liddell is gone. In is former Florida State kicker Dustin Hopkins. He was a great kicker at Florida State, but his problem is going to be the kickoff game. Can he get them into the end zone and force the returner to take a knee and limit the return yards? Punting, it's another Florida State man. It's Sean Powell. He's got a leg that's about league average. If the Bills cover team will have to make up for his deficiencies. Returning the ball this year will be Marquise Goodwin. The Olympian has blazing speed. He took one to the house in his first NFL game against the Colts and nearly took another one to the house, getting stopped in Colts territory. Returning punt will be former USC Trojan Robert Woods, but don't be surprised if either McKelvin or Goodwin takes over at some point in the season and starts returning kicks. It's going to be an interesting season. If Manuel's healthy, I think this team can go 9-7. If not, and Kevin Cobb starts, all bets are off. It could be another top 10 pick for the Bills.